brought something right up your alley.
What's that?
It's a book on the military and warfare from the time of Queen Elizabeth I. It's called The Instructions for the Wars, and it was printed in 1589. It's actually one of the first military field manuals for the English, and it's also got a second book inside, which is the first book on fortification.
Fornication?
Fortification.
Okay.
This book was printed in 1589 during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. It's one of the first English military manuals and one of the first books on fortification. I want to sell the book because I studied it, I enjoyed it, and I have to pass it on to the next person. I'm asking $14,000 for the book today. The man who translated the first of these books, it was actually translated from French into English. His name was Paul Ive, and he was actually both a military engineer, but he was also a spy under the English Secret Service, under the Grand Spy Master of Elizabeth I.
You know, Queen Elizabeth, she doesn't really get the credit she really deserves, probably because she was, a woman. She was literally one of the greatest leaders of the past 1,000 years. By the time Queen Elizabeth died, it was an extremely powerful nation. It was not someone to be messed with.
It has some very wonderful woodcuts in it that show the formations of the cavalry and what's necessary for an army. And then there's another diagram here that shows the fortifications, or an example of how you would build a fortification, to ward off your enemies.
This is pretty amazing. This book was printed in the 1500s and is in the English language, which makes it kind of rare, but rare doesn't always mean money. This is really cool. How much do you want for this thing?
I'm going to ask $14,000 for it.
Okay. You've met Rebecca a million times.
Sure.
She's my book person, and let me have her come down and look at it.
Yeah, I think she'll be excited by it. Sounds great.
All right, hang out for a few minutes. Be right back.
This is a contemporary vellum binding. This is very exciting.
Okay.
So, Elizabethan era, one of the great sort of rivals of Shakespeare was Kit Marlowe. And Marlowe wrote one play, it was very famous, successful, called Tamburlaine. And he actually quotes, almost verbatim, some passages from this Practice of Fortification book. Let me show you something. Practice of Fortification, imprinted 1589. Most scholars believe that Tamburlaine was completed by 1588 at the latest.
You mean Marlowe might have copied from this, or?
He absolutely used passages from that book.
That's very cool.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that is.
One of the reasons I love this book is because it has this interesting connection to Kit Marlowe. People thought maybe he was actually a spy, and this book connects him to another known spy, which is Paul Ive, because he took portions of Paul Ive's manuscript and incorporated them into a play. Interesting connection. I am really excited to see these plates here. It's super unusual to see them with these folding plates intact. There aren't really any comps for this, okay? That's the tricky thing about it.
Okay. What do you think it's worth?
Looking at this has plates, and this has that awesome Marlowe connection. So I would place it around $12,000.
All right, you're the best.
I know.
I second that. Thanks so much.
I think that it would be a great book to have in the shop. It really strikes someone as a rare book. This is what people think of when they think of an old, valuable, important book.
All right, so I'm definitely not going to give you 14 grand.
Okay. She said it's extremely rare.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you 8 grand for it.
I just think it has a lot of appeal. It's an exciting book.
It is an exciting book.
What's the absolute best? Will you come up at all?
I'll go $8,500. I really want the book, but...
Okay, I'll give you my best, but you got to come up a little. I'm coming way down. 9 grand.
I'll go 86.
It's so hard to give this one up for that. I'll go for it. I'll bring you some more stuff.
Okay, cool. Meet you right over there, man.
I'm settling on $8,600. I don't really want to sell it for that, but I'm going to use the $8,600 to go reinvest in other things that I can hopefully learn about and possibly sell.